Mark A. Altman. DAREN DOCHTERMAN. Ashley Edward Miller. 3 fans who became professionals and then became Treksperts. Inglorious Treksperts. Listen wherever you find podcasts or go to trekspertsplus.com.
Hey, this is Mark A. Altman.
And this is DAREN DOCHTERMAN.
And this is Ashley Miller.
And we are the Inglorious
Treksperts.
Treksperts.
The
We're
Trekspert.
getting a weird echo on the audio.
Echo.
Hey, and this week we're crossing DELANCIE.
Oh. Yeah, we're cross-being DELANCIE.
Yeah, does anybody even remember that movie, Crossing DELANCIE? Joan Micklin Silver.
I
kinda like
remember
that.
it,
Amy Irving and
yeah.
I don't know, but Crosby and DELANCIE sounds like a cop show from the 80s.
Sounds like a bit. You know, It's funny. That reminds me. So when we're at Oklahoma City, this was funny. So Darren and I guess, are at the table. You were off in the green room or something, and this guy comes by, and he's signing something for Darren, and I'm not listening because I'm doing something else. And he says, Darren says, because we like to put people's names on it. Like, he goes, what's your name? He goes, Galen. And he goes, like Planet of the Apes. He goes, no, like in, The Chase, the episode with Norman Lloyd, who was, he was very funny. He couldn't believe that Darren said.
Right.
So then he comes over to me and says, can you sign this poster? I said, of course. What's your name? He goes, Galen. I said, like in Planet of the Apes. And he goes, what are you talking about? And I was like, he said, did you hear? I did not hear them talking.
No.
But of course, I thought of Galen, Roddy McDowell on the Planet of the Apes TV show. That's my mind would go there immediately, not to Norman Lloyd in
with
one episode.
astronauts Burke and Verdon.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so funny. So I sign it, and then Ashley comes back, and he says, can you sign something for me, Ashley? I think he had Thor or X-Men First Class Blu-ray. And Ashley says, of course. And Ashley says, who should I make it to? And he goes, Galen. And Ashley goes, like Planet of the Apes. The guy looked like his head was going to explode. He's like, no, like in the Next Generation. And we're like, clearly not.
There's a reason that the Treksperts are on the same page usually.
It's true.
Yeah.
Because we were written in the same book.
It's so true. It's so true. But yeah, that was our last day. And we also, our last day in Oklahoma City, we had a very good meal.
We did.
Yes.
On the Silent Bay Star. It was all red at Red Prime Steak. You remember
Red
that?
Prime.
Oh God, that was good.
It was good.
Red Prime, who sounds like an old cowboy actor.
Mm.
Yeah. You know, a lot of these steak places, they have the same sides. You know, they have the spinach, and they have the baked potato, and they have, the millionaire potato or whatever they have.
Millionaire
broccoli, billionaire potato, whatever it is. So they always have this. Yeah. But these guys had risotto, which no one ever has.
Right.
And I have to say it was really good. They also had the French onion soup, which was not as good.
It was
fine,
weird. But it was better than not having French onion.
Yeah, because none of the steak places had French onion soup, which was really unfathomable to Darren and I must say.
But it was truffle risotto, and it was so good.
I got to say, not to tell tales out of school, it's a couple of weeks since we were there and we're recording this, but I'm still recovering from, I'm still like trying not to eat much because we ate so much in Oklahoma City and Ticonderoga. That was so much food. It's like I've been working out every day. It's just like I'm just having these little meals. It's just like I'm still recovering from that.
It was quite the culinary adventure, although half of it was basically an adventure in the same place again and again.
Well,
But it was good though, and it was fine.
was
And the people were so
Well,
nice.
it wasn't all good.
Well, no, true.
I don't want to start tearing up Bob's again, but you know what? Why not?
No. I meant like Ticonderoga. It was like
Oh,
even
yeah.
when we were doing like House of Pizza like a couple times. I mean, it
the
was
lack
still,
of the lack of selection at Ticonderoga is not their fault.
that is exactly,
exactly.
correct. And they were.
And you know what I
wonderful.
loved? I loved that somebody on the Twitter or the X or whatever the hell it is, they put up the menu from Ambrosia and said they were
Yes.
planning to go up to Ticonderoga in the next year, and they are absolutely 100% stopping at Ambrosia Diner.
Well, we should tell them to say when they sit down that the Trekspert sent them. Now, they probably
Yes.
shouldn't say that, but what they
Yeah.
can say is, "Hey, I heard about you guys on a podcast about how
Right.
great you were."
Well, they
They'll
should
love to
ask
hear
for our
that.
waitress. They should ask for our
Emily,
waitress.
who I still
Em-
remember. Emily, the waitress.
She's like, "Oh, I'll see you again soon." We're like, "No, you won't, but you'll see our listeners."
yeah.
They'll see me maybe.
Oh, that's
Maybe.
true, because you might be going up.
I
for
think
sh-
I am
for-
going
for
up
the
again.
shot.
Put a shot in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, so you will be back at the Ambrosia Diner.
I'll be back.
People are going to be
That's the
staked
beauty
out
of
there
it.
waiting
He
for
will be
Darren
again.
to show up.
Yeah.
Well, Emily, if you're listening to this, Darren's ready for a plate of the disco fry. No, the poutine. He
No,
wants the poutine.
just the poutine. Yeah, those
Just the
disco
poutine.
fries were
heavy.
pretty, heavy. Yeah,
Yeah, but the poutine was good.
it was good.
Yeah,
I
it
would
was.
like my 3,000th omelet of the weekend.
That's right.
Like,
Okay,
actually,
but
their
yeah,
omelets are really good, dude. So
But you didn't tune in to hear about the Ambrosia Diner. You
Or
tuned in because
did
you
you?
want to hear John DeLancie and
Right.
Denise Crosby. Interesting combination, I might say.
yeah,
You don't
way more
normally
interesting than you thought.
We were trying to figure out what they had in common, and then we finally figured out. We're like, oh, they were the alpha and omega of the series. They were both in the pilot, and they were both in the finale,
Yeah.
which was celebrating its 30th anniversary when we did the panel. So it was like, okay, I guess that's how you justify it.
Yeah, and it worked. And you know what? They were great together on stage.
They were. It was a really good panel because we had a lot of unfinished business with Denise, because there was a bunch of stuff the last time we interviewed her that we didn't get around to asking her that we finally got to ask her.
Yep.
And then Delancey, we had a lovely dinner with him, but that wasn't recorded for the podcast.
It wasn't recorded.
Yeah, so we
And
were
he
able
he
to.
apparently forgot every moment of it.
Yeah, I know. Did we have dinner? I don't really remember.
Yeah.
Did I work on your show, Ashley? I vaguely recall.
That's right. Yeah, it's funny. One thing we did not talk about on stage, but I did talk to him about it afterwards, was when he came to record for me on DOTA, we actually started his record session late because we were sitting around, we were talking about the first season of Picard and how upset he was that he had not even been given a phone call. Nobody had spoken to him about having Q appear on Picard. He was not happy about it, honestly. I mean, like,
Rightfully
not
so.
like in an angry way, but just a disappointed way.
Well, you could just say he dodged a bullet.
Oh yeah, you totally could. And then like literally the next week, I think is when, suddenly it was, I guess Q is going to be in the second season of that fucking
Right.
show before it
Yeah,
becomes
yeah, sure.
Mhm.
No, it's true. Well, then he was upset because apparently he wasn't invited to the premiere of this third season.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Because I guess they felt like they'd give away the tag or something, but just
Right.
he's part of the family, so it's
exactly.
like all you had to do was they say, yeah, "Why are you here? I want to support my friends." It's
That's
not like
simple.
it's like, "Oh well, if John DeLancey
would have
said
invited
he
John
must be in the
DeLancey?
show."
But
Yeah,
was he
I-
at the Peabody Awards the other night?
Well, you know what? I don't want to be negative, but I looked at that photo and it was recognizing the franchise, was it not?
It was.
yeah.
Where was Rick Berman? Where was Ron Moore? Where
They
was
weren't there.
Shatner? Where was freaking Ande Richardson? Where
was
was
Ira?
the first freaking
Yeah.
40 years of Star Trek?
Yeah, nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere. What if they went nowhere? Then this would be their big chance to get away from it all.
Nowhere.
I was a little vexed. I got to tell
Yeah.
you. Like, I don't
They
blame
did not represent the wholeness of Trek.
the new people wanting to take a bow. I mean, it's something to be proud of. This is a significant award to be recognized with. Good for them. But it was so disrespectful not to include the people, they stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
And, for those giants not to be represented. And, I mean, let's face it. I mean, whether you like Rick or not, he produced, nearly
The
20
bulk of
years
Star Trek.
Yeah, you know, from Next Generation through Enterprise, through you know, 4 of the movies. So I mean, it's absurd, and Nick Meyer should be there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, so many other people who are not, you know, who are have passed away, but there are people who are associated with the original series and Next Generation who could have and should have been represented at this.
Yeah, and they were not.
Yeah.
It was a horrible oversight.
Yeah, I did talk to someone. I'm not going to say who worked on Next Gen and some of the other shows, and they had they weren't sure. They were like, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to go. I mean, I really feel like if they're recognizing all of Star Trek, that, you know, I should be invited. I should be a part of this. Clearly, they weren't, because they weren't there. And I'm not going to say who it was, but they certainly were somebody who should have been there. And part of this celebration of, you know, close to 60 years of Star Trek. So anyway, enough about that. But anyway, this was a great time we had in Oklahoma City. We're so glad that we get to share these with you. We're so appreciative to everyone at GalaxyCon who makes these journeys possible, especially Mike Broder, his entire team. So we'll be back with John DeLancie and Denise Crosby after a few commercial messages, and then we'll be back with a few closing thoughts. So stay tuned.
Excuse me, I'm interested in the new collector's ornament from Hallmark.
Ah, the shuttlecraft Galileo from the Starship Enterprise.
Precisely.
You know, it lights up when you plug it in. And listen.
Shuttlecraft to Enterprise. Spock here. Happy holidays. Live long and prosper. Fascinating.
For a store in your sector now carrying the Star Trek ornament, call 1-800-HALLMARK.
Live long and prosper, right?
No, I'll take 5. What is thy bidding, my master?
There is a great disturbance in the Force. Get his battery.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Long-lasting Energizer batteries. Just keep going and going.
I'm Mark A. Altman, showrunner Pandora, writer, producer, Librarians, and co-host of Inglorious Treksperts. And as always, I'm delighted to be here with my co-host, the associate producer of Star Trek, the Motion Picture Director's Edition, DAREN DOCHTERMAN, and the writer of X-Men First Class and Thor, and co-host of Inglorious Treksperts, Ashley Edward Miller.
Yo.
But now we're filling out our bingo card with an interesting duology. This is, I guess the way that we justify, it's sort of the alpha omega of Star Trek. They started the show, they ended the show together, but it's an interesting combination, but I think we'll find a good way in. So without any further ado, I want to introduce you to Denise Crosby and John DeLancie. Well,
the Alpha and Omega.
Wow, that sounds really
Wow, man, we are special.
Very special. And you know, we were thinking about this is an interesting combination, the two of you. And of course, we said, what's the connection? And my first thought was, well, John, we know you love zombie movies.
I do.
And
how do you know that?
You told us.
Oh, really?
And you know, you've been a zombie. You've been in Walking Dead, but you've been
bitten.
Pet Cemetery.
I've been bitten. Yes.
And we're all really tired, and we moderated a lot of panels this weekend. So we thought we'd let John ask Denise a little bit about her experiences doing zombie films.
Yeah, so I didn't know that.
What?
I didn't.
You don't watch my work? Come on.
Yes, of course I do. Yes.
Good answer. Right answer.
Were you a zombie?
Well, at the...
Spoiler alert.
Can you believe this? 36 years later, I did a little movie called Pet Cemetery.
Oh, well, that,
okay.
yeah.
So, and at the end, I come back to visit my husband, in the kitchen, and I have come back from the dead. So technically, yes.
You're a zombie.
I'm a zombie. I have oozing eyeball syndrome and all kinds of stuff.
Since we're reminiscing a little bit here, I first met Denise. I was all dressed up in that judge's outfit, an outfit which I brought from home, by the way. Nice. Yeah, you and I, we had a nice chat. I was standing. We were shooting the trial scene for Encounter at Farpoint. Patrick wasn't saying a word.
Typical.
He was being Mr. Poopy, and you and I, we were about this far from each other, aww. And we were just chatting, and then all of a sudden, in comes the gang. And they said, excuse us for the conversation. And they started spraying on Denise's face hot paraffin.
Yeah, that was legal.
And it was to be the part where I freeze her. Yeah.
That was nuts. I mean, it's the pilot. I have no idea what any of this is going to be, or, I've never been a regular on a TV show, and quite naive. And the special effects people come in and say, okay, so, Q is going to freeze you, and what we're using is hot wax.
Because Denise had not read the script yet, right?
Right. Yeah.
Here are your sides, go.
Yeah, my part. Oh, your part. Okay. Bullshit, my part. So we've got this this like airbrush basically that's going to do this. And just hold still, don't move, because it looks like you're frozen. But it's going to be hot wax blown onto your face. And hold your breath. I'm going, is it going to hurt? It just was crazy. And we had to do it a couple times.
We enjoyed it, though. It was fascinating to watch.
I mean, it was
Glad
the
you liked
80s.
it.
They
Yeah.
were doing that in Whitesnake videos or whatever back then.
Yeah,
and
there was
nobody.
that Madonna movie.
But I gotta ask you. I mean, John, you are a huge fan of audio drama. You've had a very successful voiceover career in addition to on camera. And there was a time where you were doing the audio, the Alien Worlds dramas. And can you tell us a little bit about how freeing doing audio work can be as opposed to being on camera, and what drew you to it initially?
Well, you brought up a couple of things. You mean Alien Voices?
Alien Voices, I think.
Yeah. For those who don't know, I directed War of the Worlds. And I was doing it for LA Theater Works. I had done a lot of radio shows for LA Theater Works, which was a producing arm of NPR. And we did kind of regular plays. Not kind of, they were regular plays, with wonderful people in it. So in any case, they came to me and they said, we have an audience issue, we're just not getting as big an audience. Do you have any ideas of what we should do? Science fiction. Oh, well, John, we're not going to do science fiction. Pooh, 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 pooh. I said, science fiction. How about War of the Worlds? Okay, so they relented. When we did it, the queue of people was around the block. So first of all, to science fiction. And at the end of that rehearsal period and us performing, Leonard played the star in War of the Worlds. I went to him and I said, did you have a good time? Did you enjoy yourself? And he said, yes. I said, well, Leonard, I have an idea, and he's, for a company. So he said, come to my office. I went to the office a couple of days later, and I said, I'd like to do classic science fiction. I'd like to write it so that the author still recognizes his script. We'll do adaptations. And that's how Alien Voices came about. To answer the difference, you have to do, I have to do a lot of homework about it. First of all, I'm very dyslexic, so I have to really sort of spend the time to just do my own work, to be able to read the script properly and what have you. And then I spend the time imagining. So when people come to me about voiceover, it's imagining. You imagine, and you imagine 360 degrees around you. You know, you just imagine all of it and what have you, and then you put it into your voice. And so that's, I don't know, that's what I do.
I loved your War of the Worlds adaptation, and it was the Howard Koch script, right?
It was the Howard
from
Koch
30,
script.
39,
Right.
or 38.
Right.
And because I had listened to that record album of the original broadcast since I was 6 years old.
Right.
And the newness of it, but still keeping the essence of the original, was so well done.
And you know, we wrote a sequel to that, which did not get onto the thing. And the sequel is that when it's all over, it's like, oh, great, and the audience and what have you. And then I picked it up and we're going, well, now, ladies and gentlemen, as I told you at the beginning of the program, we're going to go down into the green room and we're going to talk to some of the actors. So we went and we talked to some of the actors, and Leonard's song, and all of a sudden you hear like that. And we did an earthquake. We did an earthquake. And then we have everybody coming up out of the recording booth, or out of the studio, coming out onto the overlooking Santa Monica Bay, and the machines are coming up out of Santa Monica Bay. And the gag was, because it was a political thing, we couldn't get anybody to believe us. There's all, people's going, my God, it's an invasion, and nobody would actually listen because they were all too interested in O.J. Simpson. It was during the O.J. Simpson thing, and there was nothing other than O.J. Simpson. So America was being invaded by the Martians, but people only wanted to talk about O.J. Simpson.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man.
Yes.
And one of them wasn't
Clearly
OJ.
One of them wasn't OJ.
Yeah.
So, John, you and I worked together a couple of years ago on Dota Dragons.
On Dota, yeah.
Yeah, I cast you specifically because I don't know if you guys know this or not, because being an Inglorious Treksperts, I'm a freaking nerd. And also, you're a terrific, amazing actor. And when you came in, one of the things that really struck me, and has always struck me about really great voiceover actors, is, first of all, your ability to find more than one way into a performance with just your voice, without physicality, with just your voice. And I thought maybe it would be interesting for you to talk a little bit about, what you do differently when you're standing in front of a microphone delivering your lines versus you're going off book and now you're on stage with other actors. What's that like as a process?
I'm not actually quite sure exactly what you're asking me. What is?
I mean, neither. No,
Is there a different approach?
Right. It's
to voice only
versus being on camera.
Well, with being on camera, I would say that we would both agree. You have to lose your self-consciousness. Right. You have to just let it go. Working on audio, I am listening. So I just did a VO a couple of days ago, and it had to be set to picture, and it was new. I wasn't looping anything, and so whatever the first line was. So here you are. I said, now let's listen to all of this, and you can go, oh, you know what? So here you are. So here you are. I need to slow that down. So here you are. I need to it's my entrance. So I'm now becoming then a director in it. And then I'm asking to the director, does that sound right to you? Yes. So let me go back and do that. Okay. And so we went and worked each and every line, and then giving multiple takes from this angle, this angle, this angle, and this angle, for which they could then choose. None of that happens in front of camera. I mean, you can say, okay, that was a take. Can I do it again now? And you take another focus and what have you. But you have to lose your self-consciousness. Whereas I think that with audio, you have to become an actor and director, sort of toggle back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right.
And if I may add one thing too, in film, you can say so much without saying a word. Yeah. You see, so in audio, in voice, you don't have you're missing that element. Right. So now all communication has to come from intent and vocally. Right. You know, so you've got to fill in what you're able to do with a look, with a cut, with a visual landscape. So, people like, say, Steve McQueen, the great actor, he would read a script and you'd have a table read and he'd say, rip the page, don't need that, don't need that, don't need that, can do that with a look, don't need that. The writers would be going, it's too much words, too many words. Yeah. He could do so much without dialogue. So it's so completely different.
Right. Yeah, he was good at stealing scenes without dialogue. There's
Yeah.
that famous story in the Magnificent Seven where Yul Brynner has all these lines and he just starts playing with his hat and doing all this stuff to distract from Yul Brynner, so you're looking at Steve McQueen the whole time, which is a movie star.
He was a master.
Yeah.
That's called upstaging.
I'm still stuck on Patrick's trailer, Mr. Poopy. I think
Was that on the call sheet? Or?
Steve McQueen said something which actually helped me out greatly once. He said you should always have a secret, so that when you're acting, there's a secret. I was doing the Thornbirds, and there's a section where I'm introduced, but we also see Rachel Ward, and I'm one of the suitors, and she's coming down the stairs like this, and she's dressed up and what have you, and the cameras are shooting in this direction, and they're coming, and she's coming down, and she looks fantastic. When they go in this direction, the script says, and she sees whatever my name was, and as the character, and he is smitten with love. And I thought, good God, how am I going to act that? What does that mean? Like.
Please tell me you did that.
And I'm thinking, oh God, this is like that. So in any case, she comes out, they're shooting many takes of her. And then finally they say, okay, John, we're going to be on you. So, and I'm in amongst a bunch of other suitors, as it were, but it's on me. And I go out as they're setting up, and I'm going, God, I need a secret. I need something that takes my mind off of this. I know. And just then, the guy says, okay, the AD says, okay, John, we're ready for you. I was wearing a tuxedo. Immediately, I went like this. I pulled the pocket out. I ripped it. Now, I have to say, I wasn't wearing any underwear. I ripped
Where is the secret going, John?
And we get into a position, and my hand goes down like this, and it grabs my balls. And I'm like that, and I don't do anything except I go, I have a secret. Everybody in this room has no idea what I'm doing right now. And I just had a look on my face like that. I was watching her come down. Well,
wow.
About, I don't know, the show comes out, and I'm in an audition at Paramount or some other studio or what have you. After the show comes out, and they go, oh, hey, oh, wow, you played that role. Oh, my God. When she comes down then the look on your face was so... Oh,
I'm so watching the Thornbirds tonight.
These are all technical things that you do.
Acting.
Acting.
It shows you how ephemeral pop culture is, except for Star Trek. Because if this was 20 years ago, we could have filmed this convention center with Thornbirds fans, right? I mean, that was the miniseries that people were obsessed with. And now you talk to Thornbirds.
Longer than 20 years ago,
No,
I dare
40,
say.
but I'm trying to protect the guilty.
But what, that makes me think about, I wonder how many shots in film, you know, close-ups on actors we're watching, and they're grabbing their balls.
Well, it's a secret.
I just want to know if that was Q's secret sometimes, too.
That's what was happening under the robe.
So, Denise, I have to ask you, because you've talked at length about how frustrating that first season of Next Generation was. But what's interesting is the creativity that you had in going to Rick Berman, who was notorious for not caring what actors had to say, or any, at that point, doing 26 episode seasons, the last thing they wanted to hear was from, actors' opinions or feedback on scripts. You actually sold them on this idea of Sayla, this crazy fakakta idea about you're the daughter of your character from yesterday's Enterprise, and you got them to go for it and then bring you back for multiple episodes. How did that happen?
I grabbed his balls. No, I'm kidding.
Rick Berman has a secret.
But now it's out. Now you know. God, we'll never let you live this down. God, wow. He was gracious enough to take a meeting with me. I had done yesterday's Enterprise, and from that episode gave me the idea for the role of Sela. It was slightly different. Sela, the daughter of Tasha Yar, would be from Lieutenant Castillo. So, it eventually became she became half Romulan, and they changed that notion. But Rick was gracious enough to take a lunch meeting with me at Paramount, and I pitched this idea. I, basically said, I don't know, I can't get this out of my mind. I think it'd be such a cool idea. And basically, I was predicating it off of Dances with Wolves. The movie had come out right then, and the role that Mary McDonnell played, a woman who had been raised with indigenous Native Americans. So she, for all intent and purposes, acted and believed and was Native, but of course she wasn't. So that idea of a human being raised by Romulans to think and act and be a Romulan, that's what I was going for. And I just was naivete is a great thing, because you don't know how far where the line is, So I just had the meeting with him, and he went, "Let me think about it." And I thought, well, that's a lovely way of saying bye-bye. And a couple months later, he said, we're gonna do it. We're gonna go with this. We got an episode. I just wish they would have really flushed the character out more. The Star Trek Online has done an amazing job with Sela's story arc, and hopefully, maybe there'll be more of her.
Well, after the spacesuit, you just wanted the Joan Crawford shoulder pads by playing around. You're like, I get the shoulder pads now.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, because it is the 30th anniversary of All Good Things. What's weird is people forget, you can count how many episodes you were on your hands. It was, 5 or 6 episodes. And they treat you like you were there every day and every episode. And, for you, it was for a season, and you came back and played with them every once in a while. What was it like for you when they were, coming to the end of this long road, 7 years, 26 episode seasons, and you come, for the finale, the swan song, and they're just happy to be done. But it's a different perspective for you guys, because you're not part of the regular cast, but you knew what a big part of popular culture this had become, and you were known. Now you'd become these iconic characters, even though you weren't, in the show all the time. What was your perspective on it coming to an end? And did you ever think that here we are 30 years later, I mean, you were getting invited to conventions and doing all this stuff, but that it didn't stop. It never ended, you know? The trial never ends, the conventions never end, the fandom never ends. You know, sort of what's your perspective looking back at that?
Well, you know, my feeling, it didn't feel like it was coming to an end. Because remember, they were all like eager to get on with doing their first movie. So it was really like, this is just a temporary, oh, hi Denise, oh great, welcome, you know, welcome back. But we're gonna make a movie now. You know, and that's where the focus was, and you could feel it. You know, it was very much that that vibe. They were done with this, and they didn't know what the new thing was going to be. This movie now career of these films, of this TV show. I was gratified that I was grateful that I was being asked to be part of the ending, but I felt a little outside of it, you know, rightfully so, and I also had a little trouble. I learned a big acting lesson. I just assumed, oh, I played Tasha Yar. I know how to play Tasha Yar, and I've got this scene with, you know, Captain Picard in the shuttlecraft, and I know how to do this. And I did not know what the hell I was doing. I mean, I got into that spacesuit, and it had been a long time. Well, I had been playing Sela, #1. So now I had, you know, to go way back, and I didn't feel, you know, in my skin. It took me a little bit to, like, what is this thing? What is this shuttlecraft? What century am I in? Who is this captain? And I really took it for granted that I would just put on that suit and I'm back at Paramount, and it showed me that no, you gotta do the work. You know, you've gotta get into, you still gotta do your acting work, your preparation. You can't just assume.
This may seem like a silly question, but did the haircut help?
Did the haircut help?
Haircuts always help.
Well, my hair was cut.
You had the like the buzz in the back and the
Yes, I had to cut it to get it back to look like, you know, Tasha.
Did that help with a mindset at all?
Yes, but it wasn't a great, you know, it wasn't a huge leap or anything. It wasn't like I had hair down to here and, you know, I had to buzz it off. But it was just more of an unfamiliarity that I felt, an awkward unfamiliarity. And I didn't think it was going to be that way.
Like coming back from college.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit what that whole episode was about, right? Everybody is sort of back in a place that feels like it's the place, but not.
Yeah.
So there's a discomfort. Even your scene, I mean, if that discomfort was real, if your discomfort was your secret, it actually came through as though there was something that you were sensing that was wrong, but you couldn't put your finger on it.
Yeah,
it
so
really
it actually works for the performance. It just didn't feel, it felt weird.
Right.
But maybe it's part of the scene, because the scene was weird.
Yes.
And John, you kept getting calls. The show was over, but then they kept calling you to come back. It's like, you know, they called you for Voyager, and then they called you for Picard. And
yes, except, you know, I'm not a regular. When you're a regular, they have to write for you. They do not have to write for you if you are a guest star. And so, honestly, I just let it go at the end of every episode. That was the end of it. And so when they called again, I was like, oh, okay. And people have asked me over the years, and I keep on saying, well, it's a little bit like being concerned as to whether you're going to be invited to a dinner party. There's nothing kind of worse than that feeling. You know, actors, I'm just, or me in I just went, that's it. That's it. You know, when Terry asked me about Picard, he said, "Well, I went to see him meet him in Paramount." He said, "Well, I guess you were expecting this call," and I said, "Absolutely not. No." So.
And there's that really delightful tag that Terry wrote for you at the end of season 3, which is unexpected and just terrific. It's,
I was not enthusiastic about this whole death thing with I kept on saying, I don't know, you're shaking up. Star Trek does something that most other shows do not do and do not want to even approach, and that is that they sometimes deal with big philosophical questions, and the audience knows it, appreciates it, looks forward to it, and it's what makes Star Trek, I think, one of the things that makes it important. Death is a pretty big philosophical issue. To just kind of, oh, well, he's dying. I just went, it's a lost opportunity, guys. I don't mind dying, but you have an immortal being who's dying. Wow, what one could write about that, what one could say about that, where does that go, and what have you. So I had expressed to Terry a number of times, I said, it's either explored or we are getting into, it's just sort of flaccid. And so on the last scene, I should say, when the Patrick and I, that scene where we say goodbye, and when we were finished, it's a little bit like the way it is now. All the lights are over here, so we can't see you. So all the lights were here, and Patrick and I are working. And it goes on for, let's say, an hour, probably more like 45 minutes or what have you. And when we started, it was 2 camera teams in there. So let's say 10 or 12 people at maximum, and then Video Village. We finished, and there's this big applause. And I began going, I went, oh my gosh, maybe about 30 people have come to watch this scene, which is really sweet. And then Patrick said a few words, I said a few words, because that was it, that was the end. And that's when Terry came up, who had been cogitating about this issue. And he said, I have figured out a way to kind of jump past your
current state.
You're upset. And that was that scene, which was in season 3.
Well, we're going to open this to questions in just a second, but I got to ask you, you've worked with so many talented people in your career, but one of the most talented is Terry Gilliam on The Fisher King. Any memories of that experience and working with Terry?
Yeah, and Jeff Bridges, yeah, who I had done 2 other shows with. Not really. I mean, he's directing. So, there's a certain language, a certain way to do it and what have you. And he was doing it, and I kept on going, my God, this is Terry Gilliam. I mean, God, this is Terry Gilliam. God. I mean, the person who strikes me as being, who was also directing, but it was a hoot, is that I did a show with Mel Brooks. Now that was just so much fun, him directing. And then in between him directing is going, oh, John, you're going to see, we're going to have a party after this, and the Mogan David is going to flow like wine, and all this stuff that's going on, maybe I have a cigarette. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Give him a cigarette. No, give him 2 cigarettes. No, actually take the pack of cigarettes and put Scotch tape around the entire pack and have him smoke like that. So Terry Gilliam was not like that. Mel Brooks was like that.
But right before we go to the audience questions, I just want to talk about, we were talking about conveying meaning with just a look or with silence. Your performance in those few episodes of Breaking Bad are so moving and so telling with you saying very little.
Well, that's a good example, which when you said it, I thought, I'll tell that story, but I didn't. But in any case, and this is also with going back to the thing about audio. Mostly in just bread and butter television, our jobs is to come on, say the lines, action, say the lines, and move on. Yeah. If you get past 3 takes, that means something is wrong. There's something, people are upset, or, on Star Trek, we would do the thing, and then everybody would turn to the script supervisor and go, did he say all the lines? Right. Yes, he did. Okay, we'll move on. You kind of go, no, I'd like to act it a little bit better, maybe. But no, we're moving on. Okay. I'm doing Breaking Bad, and we do 1 take. Okay, we'll do it again. 2nd take. Let's do it again. And I'm going, uh-oh. They don't like what I'm doing. They don't like what I'm doing. 3rd take. And I began to go, I'm now concerned. Yeah. And I go back and I said, is everything okay? And I realized, oh, wait a minute. They're working. They are working. So it's not just me. They are beginning to work. And John, when you held the hand here, or when you don't, or you took a look, but then you shot over here, and you did like that, and then you begin to relax again. Right. And audio, which is what I like about it, is that you can work very quickly. Right. You can get to just working, because everything is being captured. And then we're listening, and everybody's organizing themselves and hearing it for the first time and going. And then you just begin to get to working. So yes, with that, it was because I had walked onto a set where they said, we can work. And I began to relax. And then you begin to contribute. Yeah.
And speaking of very quickly, let's get to these questions very quickly. Try and keep them short so we can get to it, everybody. Go ahead.
Please, no secrets.
Thank you. I wanted to ask the both of you about some very different roles that you played. Denise, how did you like doing that role in Key West? And John, how did you feel about your role in Hand That Rocks the Cradle?
Key West is absolutely one of my favorite parts. It was just a wonderfully written, complicated role. I'm sorry that it's not available, that series. They really should bring it out on Blu-ray or something. It was just, first of all, to be in Key West shooting a TV series was incredible. And the role I played was the mayor, and she was a conservative, recovering alcoholic in the most liberal place in America. So it was, and she was holding on for dear life to try to, be the best mayor she could be, and she was failing miserably. So it was just a wonderfully layered, complicated role.
The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, that's a good example of what we were talking about over here. We were shooting, and in this particular scene, the gynecologist scene, I said, and I can't remember his name. He just passed away, or
Curtis Hanson?
Curtis. I said, Curtis, I know that this is a scene where she's going to go run away or leave the room and say and think that she's been molested. But if we don't see that, the audience could begin to think of her as being hysterical. And I think that we should see it. We're working now. And he said, well, how would you do that? And I said, and the camera was over here, and I said, well, this is how I would do it. I would pat her, you know, oh, what a wonderful day, and it's great to see you, and what have you, and put the glove in this hand and bring it down. And and this is one other thing that in film is better than, instead of telling people, you show people. Instead of telling, it becomes words. You show. Let me show you. And I palmed the hand. I palmed the glove. I took it, put it into my pocket, and the hand moves across like this. And he went, okay. And it's in the movie. And it's the part that makes that scene. And my wife's gynecologist called her when that movie came out and said, I just want you to know that your husband has set gynecology back by 30 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I just have a thought about Q always has that fascination with Picard and put humanity on trial. I'm wondering what you, either one of you might think about perhaps instead he was actually trying to usher humanity as an evolutionary leap to join the continuum.
Oh, well, that's kind of an interesting idea. I had never thought of that, though. I don't write it. But the writers could have done something with that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
I have two separate questions for both of you. How was it working on a Stephen King movie, and how was it working on Charmed as a white lighter?
Well, working on a Stephen King movie, you know, you're at the top of the triangle. You know, he's a master, and I had the great privilege to have 2 weeks with him rehearsing in Maine, where the movie takes place and he lives, before we ever shot a frame. So he also, in the rare occasion, wrote the book and the script. You know, often the script, the book is adapted by another screenwriter. So the screenplay is exactly the book, exactly. And that's a rare occasion. So it was great. It was just so much fun to do.
You also worked for a female director at a time where that was much more rare.
Yes.
Any thoughts about that?
Oh my God, yes. So Mary Lambert, she was given the reins to a studio feature film in the 80s when women were not getting, it's still not like they're handed the keys to the kingdom that readily either. But back then it was really, really quite difficult. But she was amazing. She was an artist. She graduated from Rhode Island School of Design as a painter. And so she brought a very visual palette to the film. And she took some real risks. She worked with the part of Zelda, the daughter, my sister in the movie is played by a man, which of course makes everything slightly odder. And she really has just a real visual style. So it was really wonderful to work with her. And she and I were friends. I'd made her very first music video. She came out of the music video world of the birth of MTV. She did all those early Madonna videos, did Madonna's very first videos, and sort of discovered her, put her on the map.
Charmed was fine.
You're going to send in the Blu-ray of Pet Sematary, right? Okay.
This question is for Denise. What was it like working on Lois and Clark? And was John Shea ever actually in that cryotube?
Oh, John Shea, what a love. Yeah, Lois and Clark was a blast. I mean, it had its challenges. The Lois and Superman were not the best of pals at that point, but we persevered. But you know, here I got to work with two people now who have passed: Cindy Williams, the great Cindy Williams, Laverne and Shirley, and oh God, Lewis, you know, the little Southern gentleman.
Lane Smith?
No, Jordan. Wow, God, I'm blank. Leslie Jordan.
Yes, that's it, Leslie.
Leslie Jordan. I mean, they were so funny and so delightful to work with, and I just loved the tone of the show. It was very, very colorful and cartoony, but in a good way.
Thank you.
I did a show with John Shea called Agent X, and he played the president, and you were going to play his wife. And I think you had a conflict the week we were shooting, and it ended up being Helen Slater. But that would have been you working with John. John's great. He's in a movie called Missing that he's amazing in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, my question's for Mr. DELANCIE. So in season 2 of Picard, the scene where Q slaps Picard, like I think that there's one of those powerful scenes in that season. Can you tell me what it was like filming that, like where you were at with the character whenever that moment happened?
I wasn't anywhere. I mean, Patrick just pissed me off, so I slapped him.
Take that, Mr. Poopy.
No acting needed.
That was a choice. I said to Patrick, I said, listen, I think that this will be necessary here, or it could be necessary. I just wanted to telegraph that things were different. Things are different. And again, rather than tell, it's show. I used to direct a fair amount of operas, and you know, I would say to the singers, I'd say, listen, you are speaking in a language that nobody understands out there, or most people don't. And you're going, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then the other person is going, I love you more than you love me. No, I love you more than you love me. And it's to a huge audience, and you know, all you have to do is do this, and we understand. We go, oh, I got it. So that's, from an acting point of view, I just saw, blah, you know, blah, 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 blah. Bam! Okay, now we understand. Things are different. Okay, so that's how that came about, that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I've got a question for both of you. I grew up in a Trekkie household, so I grew up with representations of both of you in 3D media, everything from our Christmas ornaments to action figures. What did it feel like seeing your likenesses used on those little 3D models of yourself, and was there any particular piece you either really loved or really hated?
Wow.
Well, I can grab the other. I was, I mean, I'm not quite answering your question, but gives you an idea of what it meant to me, is that our house, we're on the side of a hill, so our house is here and the parking area is here. And when the kids were, my two sons, when they were quite a bit younger, we are rushing up the stairs to get to somewhere. And all of a sudden, one of them pulls away and starts running down. And I go, where are you going? And he calls up and he goes, I forgot Dad.
Oh my God.
And I turn to my wife. I go, what? You know, and she goes, your action figure.
I think that for me, you know, speaking of action figures, I used to have a Barbie, you know, when I was little, and I used to have a G.I. Joe. You know, I was a tomboy as well. But I always put Barbie together with G.I. Joe. Like Ken would, you know, be dejected.
He's just Ken.
He was just Ken.
He wasn't Ken.
But G.I. Joe was something else, man. That man could move in all kinds of directions, okay?
He had a secret.
Fully functional. And
Kung Fu grip.
Barbie had the hots for Ken. So I always put them together, and I'd get in trouble, and my mother would go, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And so I met Quentin Tarantino, the director. And he came to a Comic-Con. This is before he was Quentin Tarantino. He came to a Comic-Con in Pasadena, where I was signing. And he stood in line with my action figure for me to sign.
That is wonderful.
And I went, oh my, I mean, he stood in line. Nobody had seen Reservoir Dogs yet. Okay, it would screen in 2 months later at Sundance, and he would become a star forever. But nobody had seen it yet. But I had read the script, so I knew who he was. And I went, "Oh my God, you know, you want my action figure?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna put it with my John Travolta Saturday Night Fever doll."
Wow. It makes sense.
It does.
You're the G.I. Joe now.
So, can you imagine I'm on his mantle somewhere with Travolta in that white suit?
But wouldn't you have rather have been in Pulp Fiction? Where's your...
You know, he wrote me a part for Pulp Fiction that never, it got scrapped. He did. But I was in Jackie Brown. I
Right.
did end up working with him in Jackie Brown.
Well, listen, thank you. This has been such a joy. It's always great to talk to Denise and John, and they'll be at their booth. So if you have a few more questions, you can ask them at their booth, get their autographs. I'm sure they have more great stories they didn't share. And thank you, Oklahoma City, for making this a great first GalaxyCon.
Yeah.
It was
Absolutely.
awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we're back with Galen from Planet of the Apes. No,
He's not here.
he's not
He
here.
isn't. But we wish he were. I think he lives on in all of us.
Sure.
He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe. I mean, and it's funny because I almost thought, okay, well, when Ashley gets here, he's not going to know because you know, Planet of the Apes TV series was early '70s, and Ashley's a little younger than us. So I thought if anyone's going to go with the next gen, it's going to be Ashley. But no, immediately he's like, from Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, you got to remember, my brother's 6 years older than
That's
I was,
right.
man. And like, so
He beat
saw
it into you.
everything. Yeah, 100% he beat it into me.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the great Mark Leonard as General Urko.
Yeah, he was great. Remember that episode where he finds he's working with Burke and Verdon after the earthquake, and then and they're getting along, and then suddenly he sees the poster of the apes being locked up in the zoo, and then he turns on the humans because he realizes, yeah,
you guys are dicks.
I love those titles when they took, because it was only 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Or maybe less,
Not
and
even
they turned
that,
them
yeah.
into TV movies.
Yep.
You know, Love, Liberty, and Pursuit on the Planet of the Apes, and you know, Tyranny on the Planet of the Apes. It was just like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes could have been one of the titles. I mean, it was like they had such great titles for those Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah,
they were very imaginative. I used to love watching them.
Gas, food, and lodging on the Planet of the Apes.
But with Friday nights on CBS. I'm not surprised.
Frankly, some of them were better, I think, than some of the actual movies.
Well, this is true.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes is a good title. Battle for the Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
I like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. That's a good title.
Yeah. Also, and then like there was the Dino De Laurentiis remake, Dwan of the
Dwan
Planet
of
the
the, I
Apes.
knew I was going to say that too. I
Yeah.
knew you were going there.
Sorry, I'll get out of your head now, Darren.
That's all right.
That's funny. That's funny. You think anybody will ever come out to a convention and say, "Hi, my name is Dwan"?
God, I hope so. If they look like
be
Jessica
cool.
Lange in 1977,
Oh my God, that would be great.
right?
We should. I would like to
Just
see
have to
somebody
look for the
cosplaying
giant hand.
as Dwan. Yeah, you know, because you know she was like on this yacht. If you remember, it was kind of like the Cat's Meow. You know, where like Thomas Ince was killed.
Right.
You know, it was like she was like on this Hollywood party boat, and then it got destroyed in the storm, and she was the only survivor when she got found by the Petrox Explorer.
That's right.
Yeah, and Jeff Bridges, you know,
Happened to be
he was
there,
stowaway.
being a damned attractive man.
Yeah, well, he was concerned about climate change before it was a big deal. Like he was ahead of the curve.
Uh-huh.
He was really worried about what was going on with that Petrox
He was only
Explorer.
concerned about monkey breath.
Well,
Yeah.
he didn't know about Kong.
Didn't he?
He didn't know.
I think
He was concerned that they were going to go to this island and sort of, you start drilling for
man.
oil.
I like to think Kong is still out there looking out for the rest of us. I take comfort in that. Take comfort in that. And
Yeah.
Kong, do you have to say fuck so much?
Kong doesn't roll on the Shabbos.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's crazy. I don't know what it is about that movie. It's not a very good movie, but boy, I sure think about that movie
It's
a lot.
because of when it happened and when you saw it.
That's a nostalgia one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because it's Planet of the Apes. It was the World Trade Center, right when it opened, and filming in New York, and it's jumbled up in all these memories.
Captures
I have
a moment
of the
in time for you.
It does. Because it's not a great movie.
No.
It's
not even a good movie.
It's not even a good movie. That's true. But we didn't even get to talk to John DeLancie. This is how many things we were so busy. We didn't get to talk about one of his first roles in Battlestar Galactica. He was in that episode Experiment in Terra, where he was one of the Eastern Alliance people.
Wow.
Who wore the helmets that the Spaceballs guys wore.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Yeah, he's a very serious man, that DeLancie, I think.
Yes, he is.
Very
He
serious
is.
man.
He's very centered and very directed.
Yes.
I also was appreciative. I thought the audience asked good questions.
Yeah.
I thought that was a panel where they asked good questions.
Yeah.
Which was
Sometimes
nice.
they don't.
Yeah, but this time they did. Remember there was the one person who asked, oh my God, what was it about the blockade?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. But, speaking of, asking questions, you're going to be able to ask questions in August at Star Trek Las Vegas, Trek to Vegas. And we're going to have an epic Trekspert stage.
We have a
in the
major
deep forest.
footprint there.
Yeah, like Kong.
Huge. Yeah.
And Galen, you're welcome to come. We're going to be talking about the Planet of the Apes TV show.
No, we will not.
But come on down, because it's going to be a great convention. And the only thing missing right now is you. And it's a chance to meet the Treksperts. We're going to have a lot of great Trekspert swag. We're going to have amazing panels. One of the marquee events is going to be our tribute to the 35th anniversary of Star Trek V, which is going to be super fun. We got Lawrence Luckenbill coming down, Cynthia Gao, Ralph Winter, the producer. It's gonna be great. So please come and join us in 4 days of Treksperts goodness at Star Trek Las Vegas. And you can find out more at creationint.com. And of course, join us in San Jose later that month for another great GalaxyCon, which is going to be really spectacular. Their inaugural event in San Jose, and we have some great panels lined up for that as well, some special treats. So don't miss that. GalaxyCon.com is where you can find out more.
I'm excited. Is that the
I
right
am
word?
too.
Excited.
We're all excited. Just a lot of excitement.
So excited. And I
You're
just
like the
can't
Pointer
hide it.
Sisters. You're like the Pointer Sisters. You're so excited and you just can't hide it. Yeah,
Pointer,
that's great.
I don't even know her.
Yeah.
You brought her.
Okay.
You Pointer, sister.
Well, look, on that note, I think it's been lovely sharing these interviews from Oklahoma City with you. It's great sitting down once again with John DeLancie and Denise Crosby. And we'll be back next Thursday with an all-new episode of Inglorious Treksperts. But until then, you can follow us on social and let us know what you think on Inglorious Trek, Inglorious Treksperts at all your favorite social channels. And
check the show notes for our server.
That's right. Don't miss the Discord channel on the show notes. And you can also send us an email at trekspertsplus@gmail.com. Trekspertsplus@gmail.com is where you can send us personal missives. It could be love letters to Ashley, or it could be questions about the show, or it could be
it's not a cheat.
A request for new impersonations from DAREN DOCHTERMAN, whatever you want.
For information.
Because some of them are just getting old. Like
Yeah,
Gene
it could be-
Some of
Roddenberry.
them are old.
It could be a quest for peace. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you'll join us next Thursday. And until then, keep on trekking, ingloriously, of course.